Hi there, welcome to Radar Talk, a series of short videos where we ask experts in the field of major projects to talk about an area that's of particular interest to them. Here we have Stephen Blakey, who is the Commercial Projects Director of Network Rail, who's going to talk to us about the Commercial Directors Forum, or CDF as they call it. Stephen, welcome. So what we're really interested in is how did the Commercial Directors Forum come about?
It was a response to a piece of thinking that said that the challenges associated with Control Period 5, which is the control period that we're in, weren't going to be met by perhaps a traditional approach to a client-supply chain relationship. So we looked at industry wisdom from Egan, Latham and Sir Roy McNulty, who gave an opinion that there was room for improved levels of efficiency within the rail environment, the rail industry as a whole, and we thought, right, if we're going to get more for less, more safely, with investment, with more consistency in a way that's sustainable and meets the challenges of the control period that we were looking at, around needing to do more effectively and efficiently, we embarked in terms of developing a strategy that was one centered on collaboration. And what we knew that meant was that we needed to start a dialogue and a conversation with our supply chain rather than default to the standard approach of telling them what we wanted them to do. And so CDF, the genesis of CDF was creating an environment and a regular meeting and forum that was all about that conversation, and it was about inviting them to give opinions as to what needed to be done better across the industry, where we could help them, they could help us to actually kind of leave a legacy and tackle that kind of challenge of being more efficient, more safe, more effective, and leaving a tangible change. When it started, I have to say that there were some doubting Thomases. They crossed their arms and said, "What are you going to tell us?" And we said, "No, it's not about telling you anything. It's about listing the problems, listing the challenges and the frustrations, and working out a way to tackle them." And it just so happens now that we're coming up to the 6th anniversary of the Commercial Directors Forum. And what's happened in the intervening period is that there has been a rapport, a maturing of the process, a sense of belief in what we're setting out to do, which is built around two key things. Firstly, we've had tangible outputs. So the forum, in coming together and identifying issues, has set about proposing industry-wide solutions to those issues that have been then adopted by us as a client and by all the participants in the supply chain. And a good example of that is something like the Fair Payment Charter, and changing terms and conditions that supported improved liquidity of payment from us to our tier ones, but more importantly from our tier ones to our tier twos. And that was one of the first examples where we did something that was tangible, that made everyone sit up and go, hold on a minute, actually this environment, when it comes to a solution, is producing something tangible. What's next on our list of things to do better? And over the years that followed, the pursuit of BS 11,000 certification, not only for us as a client, but through key members of our supply chain, followed through discussions in the Commercial Directors Forum. We changed liquidity and our terms and conditions. We produced guidance notes to industry, to practitioners, on how to avoid or address disputes, how to resolve views on entitlement. And so we've gone from the strategic and the lofty of charters to the kind of more specific guidance to practitioners to make a difference. And these aren't Network Rail's answers. These are answers that come from a cross-industry group.
So that's what I was interested in. So this isn't Network Rail telling the supply chain what to do. No. This forum is very much, so it's more about dialogue rather than debate.
It's absolutely about dialogue and debate. We look to create an environment of challenge. In a world of competing demands, what are the priorities and why should we focus our attention on them? And then when people come with solutions, are the solutions robust? Are they transferable? But it is absolutely a Network Rail facilitated environment, and the environment is key in terms of the commercial directors that come, They rarely delegate attendance to anyone else. They keep coming. They keep coming because they see it as valuable.
So that's another point that occurred to me. So it is these attendance is through the senior representatives.
It is indeed. It's in the main the commercial directors of our Tier 1 community, but it's also then representation from industry stakeholders and institutions and lobby groups. So Rail Industry Association, Civil Engineers, SECA, we have all of the institutions represented. We have High Speed 2, TfL. So it's a cross-industry environment to seek opinion and to propose answers.
Okay, so looking at it from a self-interest point of view, what have Network Rail gained from CDF?
I think there are three things that as a client we gain or are reinforced. The first one is that we positioned ourselves to drive industry change and be a leading and progressive client when it came to the pursuit of collaboration and collaborative techniques to manage investment, through progressive forms of contract, through progressive commercial mechanics. And so we were the first infrastructure client in the UK to secure BS 11000 accreditation. We were the first of 6 organisations to receive the accreditation in the newly launched international standard for collaboration, ISO 44001. And one of the key components of CDF is that it is demonstrable proof of our intent and our aspirations to be a collaborative, progressive client. And we know that because of the advocacy that comes from those that attend, as well as the fact that they keep attending. The second thing then is it's always good to get an independent level of advocacy or recognition. And over the years of CDF, a number of cross-industry awards have been conferred on CDF, and I'm always very keen that it's not Network Rail receiving the award. It is the Commercial Directors Forum, comprising some 80 delegates on a regular basis that represent 50 or so of our key suppliers and then the other institutions. And we've had independent recognition that what we're doing is progressive, it is effective. And most of the advocacy in those awards comes independent of us making a submission. It comes through word of mouth and suppliers going, we're onto something here, this is the right environment to be in. And the third thing, of course, is that it's an environment that allows challenge in a constructive way, because we are an imperfect client and the supply chain is imperfect and the industry is imperfect, and it isn't all plain sailing. There is some robust feedback and challenge about what we need to do better as a client, and I think that that's an important dimension as well. There are some huge steps forward, some huge achievements that we feel that we've made as a collective, but it's also an environment for challenge and criticism in a constructive way that helps us make course correction. And I think those three components are, if you like, they reflect on Network Rail and what Network Rail wants to be in terms of a progressive, engaged, responsive client that works with its supply chain. So,
Network Rail aside, do you think the CDF has an application outside of the rail industry?
Absolutely. So we've already had expressions of interest from Highways England, from EDF in terms of establishing their community of suppliers for Hinkley Point, and the fundamental concept is absolutely scalable and transferable, because it's around behaviours, it's around creating an environment of engagement and trust, and then being responsive, and the key thing is getting collective answers to collective problems and making a tangible change. I think many a forum can get the balance wrong, where it's all about transmitting information, which has its use, but is suboptimal in terms of making tangible change and driving structured continuous improvement. I think sometimes forums that bring people together, if the dynamics aren't right, where people feel that they can criticise in a constructive way, there have been many times where people leave going, if only they did this, if only they did that, and there's that sense of it's someone else's problem. Right. Whereas the key component of this model is to go, okay, what inhibits good performance of us as a sector, as an industry, as a supply chain, what do we think the collective answer is, and how can we deploy that collective answer to industry to make a difference? And there's something that's really, really important to me about this. A key component of the model that we've set up has two facets to it. The first one is that the drumbeat of the way in which we meet every 6 months is offset by working groups in the intervening period that come together to make progress, to then bring their answers back. And the second thing is that most people with the word director in their name have not been a practitioner for some time, commercial practitioner or otherwise. And we have a working group of practitioners that hold the commercial directors to account, and they do this in two ways. They do this in two ways in terms of when commercial directors opine as to what they think the problems are, the practitioners actually either support those issues and recognise them, or say, I don't know what you're talking about. This is really important because it keeps us grounded. Yeah. The second thing then is that if we identify a problem, perhaps in the change control process, for example, and there is a guidance note that is a collective guidance that the industry thinks is a piece of good practice and good guidance, of course that guidance then gets deployed to the practitioners. And our in-house group, working group of practitioners then feed back to us whether they've seen it, whether it works, whether it's changing their activities, and whether it makes a difference. And this is a really important component because it stops us believing in our own press and it keeps what we do real. And I think that that is transferable. So one of the powerful things of taking a model and moving it into a different sector wouldn't just be about having commercial directors coming together. It'd be about them identifying a group of practitioners that we call tomorrow's talent today, which are high potential practitioners who are on the tools that then get to meet the commercial directors of their community and hold them to account. And it's a really important dynamic, I think, and part of the success criteria of the model.
Steve, thank you. That's been fascinating.
Thank you very much.